Hello, everyone.
Here we are again.
Heidi, hi.
Is everyone all right?
Hello, hello.
It's been ages since we last spoke. Anyway, hello everyone. Today we have our second influential immigrant for you. I apologise, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Kat is going to talk to us about Charles Ignatius Sancho. And he was a composer and the first man of colour to ever vote in a British election. So both those things are quite fancy. However, Kat being Kat, before she talks about that, needs to talk to us about something else.
Oh, that sort of rhymed as well. That
Do
did sort of
it,
rhyme.
do it.
So I don't know if this is going to be a very sweary one. There are of course things that will be infuriating, but we shall see. Either way, welcome to History After Dark. It's entirely possible that we may say 4-letter expletives. Also, we might go off on a tangent of smut, filth, and general depravity. It's always best to put a headphone in. Boop. Particularly if you're in an office with a judgmental boss, or if you are in a space with a small child who is a problem. We call this child Timmy. We've got mugs that say what a problem Timmy is. Timmy is the sort of child that is one depraved thing one time, takes it off into school with him, repeats it in front of his teacher, who in my head is like Miss Honey. Now, Miss Honey, she doesn't watch this. Because of course she doesn't. She's not like us. She's adorable. And so she doesn't know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is if you don't know what it means, don't Google it. It's not for you. That's fine. Not everything's for everybody. That's all right. But she Googles it. And now she's in the corner of the room, non-verbal, crying, rocking back and forth. And you're getting a call up the school to find out why Timmy knows this utterly disgusting thing. And also, they're asking for your card details so you can pay for therapy to get her upright and talking again. No one needs it. Put a headphone in. It should now be abundantly clear what may potentially happen in this episode and generally on this channel. Thus, at no point do I want to see anybody coming into these comments, nor our individual social media comments. Don't come to me and say, oh, I very much enjoy History After Dark, but I do wish you ladies wouldn't swear. It's most indecorous. Shut up. No. I refute it. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. That might...
That's probably more.
No there was no lightning. That was sacrilegious.
Jesus doesn't like us. We've already established this.
Sacrilegious.
But
yeah. So that was a side note.
Yeah, don't.
What we're not going to do is we're not going to pin the comment.
Either.
We're not going to pin the comment because we know that what you want is people to come into the comments and see it, and then they'll all shame you because you have a humiliation kink, and I'm not going to shame you for your kinks. They might, I won't, but I am gonna ask you to think about your choices and make better ones because, babe, kink without consent is a no-no. That's in the no-no square. No square. So if you want to go and see Tiffany in her Brighton basement, where she will do unspeakable things to you with a kumquat and a car battery, you can crack on, but you've got to pay your money to take that choice. Kink without consent is not okay. Dear God, I hope you're all adults. This will never be a drinking game. It will not be medical nor legal advice. Please don't sue. This is History After Dark. Welcome, friends. I'm going to talk about a man who has nothing to do with a Brighton dominatrix.
Well, as far as
I also
you know.
think well, I would go as far as say, of the many facets and questions about his life, the one thing that I am 100% sure of is that he does not know a Brighton dominatrix. I am 100% sure of that. I do think it's possibly worth querying because I've chosen to put him in the topic of influential immigrants. And I think that perhaps I need to clarify and highlight why those terms may be questionable. Firstly, because he I've picked him to be named as influential because I believe he is, but I also think it's worth pointing out that he's not as well known as he deserves to be. He does not bear and have the influence historically that I think he deserves. So that's one of the reasons why I bring him up. And in terms of Immigrant, I also think that that's questionable. Now, he's not born in this country, but I think a lot of people would conceive of an immigrant as somebody who comes here by their own choice. And that is certainly not what happens. So I don't know what an immigrant is when they have no volition, apart from someone who's trafficked. So that's not the title of this series. So we are where we are, friends. Come with me on the ride. Ignatius, as I'm going to call him, because I feel like we're friends, was born. We're not quite sure of the exact date, as is often the case with people who aren't kings, but he's born in around 1729, and so the story goes, he's actually not born on land.
Ooh.
He is born on a slave ship that was heading to the West Indies.
Jesus.
It's said that when he arrives, he is baptized there in a Spanish colony. According to the narrative of his birth, the woman who gave birth to him died very soon after his birth. And one of his biographers, a man called Vincent Coretta, asserts that then Ignatius's father took his own life, quote, rather than endure slavery. Now, it's worth pointing out that parts of this account of Ignatius's early life have been subject to a lot of challenge. Another biographer, Harry Sherrin, explains that, quote, the most substantial source relating to Ignatius Sancho's early years is a 1782 posthumous biography written by somebody called Joseph Jekyll. And the accuracy of Jekyll's accounts have been really criticised more recently, because in Jekyll's narrative, Sancho's supposed to be born in the late 1720s on a slave ship that was going between Guinea in Africa to the Spanish West Indies in the Caribbean. However, Ignatius Sancho himself is supposed to have alluded to having been born in Africa in one of his letters. Now, of course, Ignatius doesn't remember his own birth. So huge question marks. It does, though, seem that while his birth is subject of confusion, myth, and general potential historical skullduggery, it certainly, what happens next, we do have a greater idea of. So while he's a toddler, essentially, and as a toddler, he is an enslaved person and potentially an orphan, it's decided that he will be taken all the way to Greenwich and placed in the household of 3 unmarried sisters. There's a great and highfalutin claim that it's supposed to have been started in the Elizabethan period, that English air is too pure for a slave to breathe. And that's one of the reasons why they say that there was no slavery in Britain or England. That's certainly incredibly questionable, because we do see people who are very clearly enslaved, and it certainly seems that Ignatius is enslaved. So his new enslavers, they give him the name Sancho, as they thought he was like Don Quixote's companion. However, very quickly, he is recognized as being an incredibly bright boy. And this is noticed by someone who comes to visit the sisters, John, Duke of Montague. He is very offended that these 3 ladies are refusing to educate Ignatius, and so he will rock up and bring him books, and he also takes him to his house and gives him books to read and starts educating him. When the Duke dies in 1749, Ignatius reaches out to his widow, who is a woman called Mary, who is perhaps most famous for being the daughter of Queen Anne's friend, then enemy, Sarah Churchill, Duchess of Marlborough. So he's moving in fairly rare circles. And Mary, widow of John, says that she decides that she's going to hire him, which she does, and she hires him to be her butler. And that's a really high-ranking position in a household during this period. Mary dies in 1751, and when she dies, she leaves Ignatius a year's salary plus an annuity of £30. Now, I did go to the National Archives currency converter, and £30 in 1750 is the equivalent of £3,500.08 in 2017 money, which would account at the time for 300 days of wages for a skilled tradesman. So Ignatius has got enough to be comfortable. Ignatius is also in a position to take a wife, which he does. He marries Anne Osborne on December the 17th, 1758, and he marries her at St. Margaret's Church in Westminster. And between 1761 and 1775, Anne and Ignatius have 7 children.
Well done.
And yeah. And what we do see is that Ignatius will at a certain point return to serve the Montague family, perhaps having 7 kids. Even with the comfortable annuity that he has been given, he's like, I need to earn some more cash because
these kids are expensive.
God damn, children are expensive.
These leeches.
Yeah. I'm living that truth. My lord, those kids eat and they grow like weeds. You're always
you wait till they go to university. Oh, good God.
They're really hard on their shoes and their trousers. Just everything gets holes in it or gets stains. Like
no knees.
Anyway,
no knees. Yeah,
that's because you've got boys. They just go through this stuff. Like
Ignatius, whatever's going on, I feel for you. So,
maybe he just wants to get out the house.
Yeah, maybe 7 kids. He's like, I need some bloody peace and quiet. I'm going to work. So 1766, he becomes a valet or a valet, if you want to be fancy pants, to his former mistress's Mary's son-in-law, George, who is the new Duke of Montague. And in this role, he is working essentially as the new Duke's personal attendant. He is his gentleman helper, if you will. And in this role, he is going to be in very close proximity to his employer at various points throughout the day, doing personal acts of service, etc. Now, this Duke had been made the governor and captain of Windsor Castle in 1752. And then in 1766, which is 10 years or so after Ignatius enters his employment, the Duke is then made the governor of the Prince of Wales. That is the future George IV and his brother, Frederick, Duke of York. So now Ignatius is at the heart of the royal family. He is always going to be in the company of nobles, royals, and other people of influence. In 1766, Ignatius is moved to write to one Lawrence Sterne. He is a clergyman who is also the author of Tristram, I find it so hard to say that name, Tristram Shandy is perhaps his most famous work. And he writes to him, imploring him to continue to lobby for the abolition of the slave trade. So he feels comfortable enough in his place, in this household, in the circles he's moving in, to write to somebody and encourage him to continue fighting for the abolition of the slave trade, which Lawrence Sterne will do. So Ignatius's pleas are listened to. On the 29th of November, 1768, I wish I'd send you a slide now to put up. I forgot to do it. But Ignatius, you can Google it. This is safe to Google. Ignatius meets with the famous portraitist, Thomas Gainsborough. And we should probably do a video on Gainsborough. And Gainsborough paints Ignatius's portrait. And As I mentioned, from the very start of his dealings with the Montague family, Ignatius has had access to their books and their library. But they also, so as well as kind of giving him the space to learn and read and access all of their works, it does also seem that this family supports Ignatius's own artistic pursuits. Now, he's not a painter, he's a composer. In 1766, Ignatius Sancho publishes a collection of minuets, which are his own musical compositions. This is minuets, cotillions, or cotillions, and country dances. My understanding is, I'm not very musical. I did look at the musicality, and I was like, I don't know what that sounds like. So I went away and I was like, somebody's played it, because the music still exists. So somebody's played it.
Ooh.
And it's very sort of like bouncy, upbeat dance, like not rave dance, but like like cool hip dance music for the mid 1700s. Okay, just make of that what you will. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not musically gifted, but it's like poppy of the time. They would have, all of the cool kids would have been dancing to it. That's the one. Thank you.
Oh,
thank
amazing.
you. Yes, so this is the one. And he's got a kind of like hand in the waistcoat.
Oh yeah,
Nelson-y thing going on. Like, I think he have just a lovely face.
I
I
thought that the moment I saw it, I thought, this is just a lovely. It just looks lovely. It looks like a lovely man.
Kind and gentle.
Yeah. And he's got, and so like, and if you look at the kind of the outfit he's wearing there, that to me looks like a kind of velvet outer coat with gold or gilt buttons, a red waistcoat with gold brocade trimming, and obviously the fashionable like neckerchief thing in white linen. These are outfits that are expensive to buy, but also require a lot of upkeep. This is a man who has made his place in the world sufficient to be painted, as we can see.
Yeah.
So his first collection of compositions he dedicates to George, Duke of Montague. Then the next collection he dedicates to the Duke's son, John. And it's believed that part of the reason for this dedication is because they are the ones providing financial backing for the production of these collections. He then dedicates another, so he creates a lot of these collections. Another collection is dedicated to Anne Brudenell. That's the wife of the Duke's younger brother. In 1776, a collection of compositions is dedicated to the Princess Royal, Charlotte. Then in 1779, he dedicates a collection to the then Prime Minister's daughter, Catherine Anne North. It's also suggested that he writes and publishes some text that's entitled The Theory of Music, which is lost. Also 2 plays, also lost. But he also writes numerous letters and articles. Sometimes he uses the pseudonym Africanus, but in other cases, he does use his own name. In lots of these works, he is a vocal proponent of abolition. But at the same time, in them, he also expresses his loyalty to the monarchy, and then also writes of his hopes for the success of the British forces in the American Revolutionary War. We know that as well as kings, queens, and princes, he's also hanging out with artists, actors, musicians, writers. They are his acquaintances, but in some cases also they are his close personal friends. On top of that, not one to sort of pull the ladder up from beneath him, we also have evidence of him acting as a patron himself to white, but also to black aspiring artists and authors. So he's sharing the platform, if you will. As is often the case as people age, his health does begin to deteriorate, and he stops being able to meet the physical demands of being a valet. But he's still in this what seems to be a very happy marriage, and with his wife Anne beside him, and also with assistance from the Duke, his employer, he opens a grocery shop on the 29th of January 1774. And we know where this shop was located. It's located at 20 Charles Street in Westminster.
Wow.
Now, perhaps complicating the issue somewhat is that in this shop, it's thought potentially quite likely that he would have stocked goods that would have been harvested by enslaved people in the Americas and the West Indies. Now, as an abolitionist, I wonder how those, we don't know how those ethics play out, but it's and we don't know of him having any concern about it, or indeed not. We don't know his feelings on that matter. What we do know is that the grocery business is successful. With that being said, Ignatius would frequently complain of money troubles. So, but what we don't know is if he's complaining because he is looking for ways to better himself, or if that is actually a financial problem caused by his own overspending on his lovely gold brocade trim, or the demands of supporting 7 goddamn children. good Lord. I mean, so
kids,
he could be like,
giving it the brocade. You can fuck off.
Yeah. Brocade is for daddy only. Okay, children. Whatever is happening, it never gets dire enough that he loses the grocery shop. He is able to continue his position as a property owner until the end of his life, and this is what's really important. Being a property owner in Britain, and being a man, but principally being a property owner, enables you to vote. And he was qualified because of property ownership to vote in 2 parliamentary elections in 1774 and 1780. And what's fascinating is that at this time, it's not a secret ballot. So we have a record of who he voted for. So the British Library points out, quote, in the 18th century, there was no secret ballot. Voting is a completely open process, and there is a public record of who voted for whom in each constituency. And the British Library holds a copy of the poll from October 1774, which lists Ignatius as a tea dealer in Charles Street in the St. Margaret's and St. John's Parish constituency in Westminster, London. So once again, that's still that grocery shop that we talked about earlier. And we know that he votes for the successful candidates, which was Lord Thomas Pelham Clinton and Hugh Earl Percy. They were both British Army officers, and they had both served in the American Revolutionary War. In his text, we know that he supports this. They were standing for the party that was already in government. This is the party led by Lord North, the Prime Minister, whose daughter Ignatius dedicated his collection of music to. The other candidates that he didn't vote for did represent a more radical opposition. And perhaps, though, his decision to vote for this government and also his decision to dedicate the work to Lord North's daughter is a sign that he supports their government. Maybe he's even their friends. Interestingly, though, in the next election that he votes in 1780, he changes his political affiliation and he votes for George Bridges Rodney and Charles James Fox. Now, these, once again, are the winners. But Fox is the opponent and, frankly, the enemy of Lord North. Fox criticised Lord North's policies regarding the wars of independence in America. And then he goes further. He, in fact, supported the American cause and criticised George III. So Fox is an anti-monarchist. Well, certainly he's anti-George III. Now, voting this way does mean that Ignatius is withdrawing his support for Thomas Pelham Clinton, who he had voted for at the previous election. And maybe this signifies that something has happened and Ignatius has had a profound shift in his political viewpoints, that something has happened between 1774 and 1780. Maybe he'd fallen out with Lord North. Maybe the collection of music didn't go as well as he thought it would. Maybe it didn't get him the stuff he thought it might get him. However, we do know that Ignatius certainly knows Fox personally, because Fox comes into his grocery shop as a customer.
Okay.
And Fox is regarded and reportedly a very charismatic and very eloquent man. He would become a campaigner for the cause of abolition. And it's possible that Ignatius is won over. Maybe he essentially doorstepped him and gave him the party political manifesto, and it worked. Equally, though, it's worth pointing out that Fox is his customer. He is his source of income, and Fox is going to know who Ignatius voted for. So, yeah, it's knowing who he voted for in this context, because it's a matter of public record. I wonder how much we can say this is what he truly believed. I think it's questionable, as it's not a secret ballot.
It's interesting to think Fox perhaps thinks Ignatius is a influential person as well. I know he has his own vote, but I don't know how many people are voting at this point, but presumably a lot. And I wonder whether he, recognizes him as somebody who might influence other voters.
Yeah. I mean, that's entire. I mean, he's. I mean, somebody who runs a grocer's shop.
So a lot of people, I suppose.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people coming through the door, and also if they talk about him dealing in quite high quality, quite high luxury things. He's based in a affluent area, so the chances are a lot of his customers are people who have met the qualification to also be voters. Of course, while he is nestled in the very bosom of the British society, I think we can say, and it would seem that he is a fully accepted member of British society. It is, of course, necessary to point out that all of this does not protect him from discrimination based upon the colour of his skin. And one of his friends, the artist William Stevenson, actually recounts an episode that he witnessed. He talks about how they were, quote, walking through Spring Gardens Passage when a small distance before us, a young fashionable, so like a dandy type, said to his companion, loud enough to be heard, "Smoke, Othello." Now, I'll be honest, I understand why Othello. I don't know particularly why smoke is a racially charged slur. I get the sense that it is, and I don't know if that's something that's continued on. It's not something that I'm aware of, but clearly it's read as being, the whole thing is being read as a racially charged slur. Stevenson continues, quote, "This did not escape my friend Sancho, who immediately placed himself across the path before him, exclaimed with a thundering voice and a countenance which awed the delinquent, 'Aye, sir, such Othellos you meet with but once in a century,' clapping his hand upon his goodly round paunch. 'Such Iagos as you we meet with in every dirty passage. Proceed, sir.'"
Oh, the shade.
The shade. So,
I mean, is that discrimination, or is that just meeting a twat on the road?
I mean, I think it's
well, they've already they I mean, we're never going to get rid of them, are we? But there's a difference between him encountering discrimination, stopping him. I'd imagine that if he had trouble buying his property, or he had trouble trading, or he was somehow tried to be barred from voting, even though he was a property owner. That I would see as discrimination. Street because there's something distinctive about him.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
I think the thing
they
is,
do that.
Yeah, I think the thing is that a lot of he obviously he is an individual who is personally charming, and people feel an affection towards him, and people respect him when they know him. But I do think it's fair to say that a lot of the reason why he enjoys the place he does is because he has the protection of a noble family. I don't think British society was forward thinking enough that if it hadn't been for the noble Montague family, he would have been able to move as freely as he did, because I don't believe they're as progressive as that.
And also maybe he had things for sale in his shop that people couldn't get elsewhere. So they were forced, maybe. I'm just a maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I think he clearly manages to place himself in a and he proves himself time and time again. But I don't think that's necessarily a sign that British society has moved forward. I think it's still incredibly classist, and the fact that he has the protection of the Montague family and the approval of the Montague family and generations of them gives him that sort of preservation to move in business means and in ways like that. It's also possible, of course, that a very similar thing would be the case for a person who was white but not noble, to be able to move in that kind of rarefied way also at this time requires noble protection. Being female, you would get a lot more leniency if you had the public protection of somebody like the noble house of Montague, because that's unfortunately the way the society was structured at that time.
I love his comeback. I mean, that's just mic
drop. Yeah, boom. So Ignatius passed away on the 14th of December 1718. Now, I didn't make a note of the maths, but if he's born in 1729, that means he is knocking
51. No? 51? Did you say 1780?
1780.
So 51-ish. Around 50, no?
Okay. Okay. I'm going to believe you, because
before his wedding anniversary. That's quite sad.
I'm going to. What's that?
3 days before his wedding anniversary.
Oh,
17th.
Oh,
that's quite sad, isn't it?
It is quite sad. It is quite
With
sad.
his 300 million relatives, because his kids might have had kids by that time. You know how it was. Big families, big families. So it's just like.
Now, at that point, he's responsible for 100 people.
We do have a cause of death, which is, but it's listed as gout.
Oh, good lad.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna be so for real. Like, I didn't know that gout could be fatal.
I didn't think it could be. Very painful. You hear about it, obviously been very painful.
Yeah. But maybe
it's a sign of other things as well.
That's my thought. Right. Yeah. Or maybe it can lead to other issues that can prove to be fatal. He's buried at St. Margaret's in Westminster. And he also gets an obituary, which was published the day after his death in a publication known as the Gazetteer. And it reads as follows: about 6 yesterday morning died suddenly Mr. Ignatius Sancho, grocer and tea dealer of Charles Street, Westminster. A man whose generosity and benevolence went far beyond his humble station. He was honoured with the friendship of the late Reverend Mr. Sterne and several of the literati of these times. And as well as being the first black person to vote in a British election that we know of, it's also believed that he is the first person of African descent to be given an obituary in the British press. then 2 years after his death, there is a 2-volume collection of his letters published under the title Letters of the Late Ignatius Sancho, an African, and this was sold by subscription. Vincent Coretta says, quote, "The subscription list for the first edition of the letters reflects the great range of Sancho's social circle: men and women, aristocrats, servants, artists, businessmen, country squires, and prominent politicians. The ease and respect with which he communicates with his correspondents, no matter how much they differ from him in age or social status, account for much of the appeal of the tone of the letters. Even though his own status rose, he never lost contact with those who had been his fellow servants, some of whom were also fellow Afro-Britons. These letters, this collection of letters, are a source of evidence that were used to support the anti-slavery abolitionist movement. Their literary quality is offered at the time as proof of the shared capabilities, sensibilities, and ultimately humanity of the African people, because part of the way that chattel slavery was, I suppose, promoted, supported, made okay, is they had to argue that the people they were enslaving were somehow less people-y than them. And so the humanity and capabilities of African people was seen as being debatable at this time. Ignatius, with his multifaceted capabilities, his eloquence, his musicality, and his skill in business, was evidence. It ran counter to the idea that white Europeans were inherently superior. And he also was able, through these letters, to provide his readers with an experience of what it meant to be enslaved. And it was also proof of the damage, the harm that could be caused by it, the incredible loss that he suffered at the very start of his life. It's writ large in those letters. The subscriptions that were paid for the collection of his letters were then turned into a means to support his widow, Anne. And she received £500 for these collections of letters. And if we go to currency converter, £500 in 1780 is the equivalent of £43,052.25, which is 3,333 days of wages for a skilled tradesman. He does, despite me saying that he's not as influential as he probably should be and deserves to be, he does get a plaque installed in Greenwich Park in 2007 at the site of the former Montague House. On this letter, on this plaque, he is described as Ignatius Sancho. His date of birth given circa 1729 and the lifespan 1780. He's called an African man of letters, composer, and opponent of slavery. In this, they define that he is born on a slave ship, which we know is questionable. He was encouraged to educate himself by John, 2nd Duke of Montague, and served as butler to the Duchess in the Greenwich Park house. An application has been submitted to install another plaque at the site. This application says, quote, "The square sculpture with a central oval relief portrait is to be made in ceramic. There's going to be a sculpted portrait area, oval border with the symbols of Ignatius Sancho's African origin in colour. And it's supposed to give a visual enhancement to what's the existing plaque is. And they want to have a square surround in close colour, and which is close in colour and size to the existing worded plaque beneath it about Sancho in his local and historical context. I'm not sure if that application to do that has been successful or not. I've been trying to look it up, but I couldn't find it. So that's where we stand about the legacy making of Ignatius Sancho, and hopefully his rising prominence. And he has been written about. Oh gosh, the name just escapes me. 1 second. Let me remember by Googling. So let me remember the book as well.
I mean,
He's
it
the sort
sounds
of
like,
person you'd want to go for dinner with, isn't he?
but he sounds like he
yes,
must have been almost, I don't know if famous is the right word, but for them to be able to sell his enough volumes of his letters for his widow to get £500, because presumably there's also a cut for the publisher, etc., then that's huge. I don't know how many people there are in the country at the time, but there must be a fair proportion who have seen or read or got a copy of these letters, which makes me think, how come they were that curious? Was he already known? Is it because he was African? Like, what is it? I like that there was that curiosity.
Intriguing.
Yeah. So Patterson Joseph, the famous actor, has been involved in lots of kind of research work and documentary work, and there is, I believe it's available on YouTube. There is for those who are interested in hearing the music, Patterson Joseph is involved in a documentary where the music is played and people dance to it. So if you want to hear it, that's where you can check that out. Yes, I think if you search Charles Ignatius Sancho or Ignatius Sancho and also Patterson Joseph on YouTube, you'll be able to find that.
So can I ask a question then? So he's brought over as a toddler. Do we know why he's brought over? And then does he actually have any memories of slavery? Or is he getting stories? Presumably he's got an interest in it, so he's getting stories from other people. Like, how is he building up an image of what's happening when he's brought over here as a toddler and with 3 sisters, which must have been a bizarre upbringing. But
I mean, I think the plan is to bring him over to essentially be raised into their servant. Seems to be, because they are very loath to feed his curiosity in a way that.
Do you think they buy him or something? Then do they?
I mean, I can't. I think money must have changed hands.
Right.
I think money must have changed hands. It's possible that he's a gift. But I'm assuming the plan is that he's going to go from being a toddler to being a boy, and they're going to train him up to be the kind of servant they want him to be, which may be why they're so loath to let him have any book smarts, that they, would like to keep him. They don't see the need to educate him, or they're actually actively adverse to it.
Well, they're not educated as well.
I mean, they may not have the capabilities to educate him. Yes, that's certainly the case. In terms of what he is remembering of his experience and what has been told, that's a really hard question to answer, because I know there's stuff that I think I remember from being 3, but I don't know if I actually remember it, or it's been explained to me, and so it's become. Yeah, I mean, as we know, we do know that he is moving in circles with other, what they describe as Afro-Britons. So it's entirely possible that within his community, he is meeting with people who have a longer experience of being enslaved elsewhere. He, of course, knows what it is to be enslaved to those 3 sisters, and what that means. So, and he also knows that the process of it is the reason that he doesn't have parents.
Yeah.
Question related, not related, just a kind of possible aside. When I mentioned his wedding anniversary, at what point did wedding anniversaries start to become a cause for celebration or commiseration, obviously, depending what's cracking
when the
on?
Victorians decided to make a card industry, probably.
Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, that's like, if you think about the things that get celebrated in, for example, the Tudor period, which knows earlier than what we're talking about now, no one seems to give a shit about birthdays either.
No, they don't.
No one seems to give a shit. So when do we start celebrating birthdays? Is that also the Victorian card industry? When do we start sending Valentine's Day cards?
That was in a wonderful series. Well, there was two: Lark Rise to Candleford and Cranford. I think this one might have been Cranford. And there's actually a scene where the cards appear in the shop window, and I'm pretty sure it's Valentine's Day cards that they depict in there in that scene. So I think it was a big thing. I mean, look, it's carried on, hasn't it? You want to have Grandparents' Day. What do you mean we have Grandparents' Day? Like, I mean, I'm not averse to celebrating grandparents, but that's the card industry that has driven that.
I saw 2 very questionable Valentine's cards last year to my son.
What?
Yeah, on Valentine's Day.
Also, to my son on Valentine's. I thought you meant he'd received them.
To my work husband. All of the no.
Okay, the work husband one I really don't like, but Gabriel has asked me to send him a Valentine's Day card this year. He's like, "Mummy."
I know, but he's teeny. He don't. Do you know what I mean? It's like it wasn't
for an adult son, surely.
We don't want a bait situation.
Well, no, but it wasn't for an adult son, surely. The Valentine's Day card.
That's the impression that I got.
No. Okay. No. Little kiddie Valentine's Day card.
Also, don't like work wife, because we all know what that means.
It means that boundaries are not being observed properly.
If your husband has a work wife, you need to get your ass down there and sort that shit out. Is all I'm saying.
I don't think anyone should be happy with it. To the point of buying a card.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Unless they're not of the same, ilk. Unless they're not attracted to you,
there might be someone there that I've just gone, my husband's got a work wife, or my wife's got a work husband. And it could be completely innocent, but I don't fancy your chances, is all I'm saying.
Public announcement. What can we do?
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on that if I was you.
Yeah, I always think it's also, in my experience, I've always sort of noticed that when you have somebody referring to themselves as someone's work wife, or someone referring to themselves as someone's work husband, it's usually the person who is the work wife or the work husband doing that reference. And the other person doesn't seem very keen. It's always, in my experience, been fairly one direction.
Oh no, I know a couple of people who've gone off with their work wife.
Oh God. So not work wife then, really. The work was
a fair partner.
Wife in waiting.
But it's quite often it might very well be the person that's gone, oh, I look like your work wife, who is single and is kind of making a play for it. In the 50s, they would have been the secretary in the pointy bra. You know where I'm coming from, don't you?
Well, good luck to them, because as is often the case, the way you got them is the way you lose them.
Especially with the pointy bras.
Yes. You haven't won. You create a vacancy.
Oh dear.
Well,
and that's how we got that from cards.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. The greetings card industry has a lot to answer for. They are facilitating this office nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah. But everyone works
very unprofessional. Very unprofessional. HR needs involved. HR needs involved.
I can understand people going, I've baked mince pies. Would you like one? But not.
Keep your finger out of the
pie horse now.
Just keep your fingers out of your workmates' pies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's a euphemism.
Yes.
Mince or otherwise.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, on that note,
somebody
Philippa,
should. Yeah.
What's happening next week?
Next week, Catherine, you're going to be introducing us to somebody who I haven't heard of before, Karl Popper, who was a 20th century philosopher. And I don't know why.
I may have done it again.
You may have done it again because he had some interest in the philosophy of science, and I'm going to allow you to expand on that next week because
It's not as bad.
we'll
as the other
see.
one.
I'm gonna bring Prozac or something.
Has anyone got any Valium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might crack out the cocodamol. Anyway.
I've still got some morphine for when I had my gallbladder flare up. If anyone wants that,
Well,
I should go around the back of the chemist with that, see what I can get for it. Kat, tell us all the other things.
Yes, right. I'm feeling the dread about more sciencey. I'm feeling
It's not as bad as the others.
that's not really so.
It's become existential. It's become existential. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, then do make sure to press all the buttons, like, subscribe, bell icon, comment, share. Blah, blah, blah. But you can also show us you like. Yeah, you can also show us you like us with money. If you go to www.buymeacoffee.com/hadpodcast and you can purchase Winnebagos. You can also join our close friends on Instagram. You will know you've done so because when there's the little logo of History After Dark, you'll see a green light around it. That means you're our close friend. And that means that Catherine has also found something horrendous to put up. It will be something history related / beaver related. It will be vulgar. It'll be like our group chat. It's a good time. You can also pop on over to our Substack. That is historyafterdarkhub.substack.com. That is where you can find links to this as a podcast. When you are at the podcast, do make sure to give it a 5 stars and also say some nice words about it. And if you don't think it's worth 5 stars, shh. It's okay. Quiet. Just go limp. It's fine. Shh.
No one needs to hear your diatribe.
Yes, exactly. Also, that's a place where you can go to find information about our merch. We have a variety of merch. Catherine's Rough Beaver. I Enjoy My History After Dark. The Conflict Resolution series. No Feet for Free on the Internet. War Boner. All that good stuff. Do check it out.
A lot now, haven't we?
Yeah, and no doubt more to come because we in the Had House we approve child labour and we will get Catherine's eldest gremlin child to build our world for us with child labober.
Actually,
It's up a chimney. He's fine. He's there. Yeah,
I
didn't say.
Me.
No, we pay him, but it's still child labour. Those things are not mutually exclusive.
He's happy. He's loving life. His mates are jealous. He's saving up the crap that he wants. You know, he's all right with it. So
it's a win-win-win for all around. But it is still child labour, and I'm fine with that. I approve that message.
Well, so's he. So you know, that's the most.
There we go.
Thing.
Everyone's happy.
We were all better when we had child labour 14.
Yeah.
So,
there we go.
We were good. Child labour now. There should be more.
There needs to be more.
There should be more.
Bring it back. Child labour. Bring back. No, let's not do that. Let's not.
Let's draw the line somewhere, though. Not compulsory.
We need them to bring in a wage.
Reopen the chimneys. Send the children up. There are not enough chimneys. There are not enough avenues. We're not enough children up a chimney, I feel.
Oh God!
Please also do make sure
your chimney swept every year, even if you haven't lit your fire or your insurance is invalid.
Well, yeah, because birds nest in them and make a bloody mess.
Put them on enough.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, sorry.
Also, do head over. Look at the description box. You can find our personal social medias there, where we're much less sweary. So go and check those out.
Twat on my other channel.
No, it's PG-13 over there.
Great word.
I think that's everything, isn't it?
I think so.
In which case, friends, be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. If you can't be careful, don't get caught. We're going to leave in 3, 2, 1. Bye.